Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. Over the next few years, I hope to convert most of my assets into strategic metals, mostly bismuth, but to a lesser extent, zinc, thallium, tantalum, and anything else that you might find in your typical electronic device, aside from those precious metals that everybody is hoarding, right? Because I expect the concept of money to be less prevalent in our society, right? We're going to approach a post-scarcity society, and the real thing that's going to have value is the elements that make post-scarcity possible, right? The strategic metals, right? That's what a lot of people forget about, right? What is gold good for? It's good for an in-between bartering object, right? That's exactly what it is, right? Practically a good percentage of the gold in circulation is used for that purpose, right? If we stopped using gold for bartering, believe it or not, I wouldn't be surprised if the price of gold were to approach that of bismuth today, right? Imagine that we really did find an alternative to using gold as a store of value, right? Maybe a digital currency of some sort. Maybe we discover another chemical element below 118 that is stable and that it's rare and it's beautiful. You can wear it as jewelry and nobody wants to care about gold. I really wouldn't be surprised if gold became really cheap, right? Or imagine we had post-scarcity where nobody needed to trade with anybody. Not only did we have post-scarcity, but we had a very antisocial society for some reason, right? Maybe the Unabomber got his wish, right? Although we wouldn't have post-scarcity in that case, right? But you get the idea, right? So, having said that, how high does bismuth price have to go? Well, right now, a lot of people are still crazy about real estate, right? To give you an idea how crazy the real estate market is, today the median home price goes for, depending on if you want to do average or median, anywhere from $200,000 to $250,000. In other words, it takes about 25 tons of bismuth to buy a house, the average house here in the United States. Now, historically, back in the 1960s, when more people realized that bismuth had value, we were competing with the Soviet Union to go into space, right? Right here is the peak of the space race, where people realized that bismuth actually had value. 1970, the average house price was $25,000, and it took about 2 or 3 tons of bismuth to buy a house at that time, if you do the math, right? So think of it this way: if you expect housing prices to only correct quickly and then quickly go back to the trend that we've been on in the next 50 years. See, we went from 2 tons to 20 tons. Eventually, it's going to take 200 to 50 years from now. Do you really expect it to take 200 tons of bismuth to buy a house? Or is it more likely to go in a cyclical wave, right? What do you think about that? It's kind of like in Japan, when housing prices went through the roof, I think the analogy was that the imperial palace was worth so much that you could fill the palace wall to wall, floor to ceiling with gold, and the palace would be worth more, right? Kind of reminds me of that story, right? I don't know if that was true or not. I mean, this was in the 1990s when gold was a lot cheaper too, so it might have been true. Anyways, so 2 tons of bismuth may one day buy a house again, and what's really amazing is that we mine only twice as much bismuth as we do gold, but a lot of that bismuth gets consumed, right? I feel like I'm doing society a good by doing that stuff with the bismuth, right? That way it doesn't get consumed, right? It's not used in something that gets tossed, like a phone that most people don't recycle, right? Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.